Hi, I'm Ivy Marie Lim, realtor and lifestyle design coach, helping you design a home and life you love. I'm really excited today to have with me Robin Choe, author, coach, men's coach, podcaster, and award-winning author of The HQ, How to Overcome Your Divorce and Be a Better Father. He's also the founder of a massive community that is growing greatly as we speak called Dads Overcoming Divorce. So do you want to talk a little bit about your community and how you've grown it to be what it is today?
Sure. I just want to thank you, Ivy, for giving me this opportunity to share my story and the opportunity to, spend some time with you. The community has been one of my life saviors. It's been a passion project of mine. I figured out who I wanted to help and who I wanted to serve, and it really was just all about service. And so I was like, there's got to be somebody I can connect to, and the divorced dads, unfortunately, were the group that I was accustomed to.
So this topic is, it's a very sensitive topic, especially when I'm working with clients going through this. And it's also one that I really relate to, having been divorced, and my husband also has been divorced. And this is also very personal for you too, and this is how it actually came about from your personal experiences as well.
Yeah, when I was going through my divorce and I was going through a really deep and dark space, I was journaling a lot. That journal ended up being this book, and in my bout with overcoming this and saying I'm not going to become a victim of this, rather a victor, and be grateful for the experience that I've gone through, it was in this book that it gave me the healing that I needed to, reach out and help other people find that same healing. And so that's the purpose behind the book, is to find other like-minded men who may have gone through the same thing and said, look, maybe I could have done it differently, or maybe I could look through it through this lens. And that was the whole purpose behind that. And so I've created a private Facebook group specifically for them. And
how is that? Because men, are they reaching out more? Men typically have a lot of difficulty in communicating.
So one of the biggest things about men is that we have a tough time letting out what's inside of us. And what I realized quickly after creating this group is that if you give them an avenue, they will talk. But the problem was that there was no avenues for these men to talk. And so that was my struggle when I was going through it. I couldn't find like-minded men who can understand what it is that I was going through. And so now this group has just blown up because there's a cause behind it. We're finding a lot of similarities, and there's a lot of issues that we face together.
And support
each other, and we tell our stories, and without any judgment, we know that we can tell our stories comfortably and not be ashamed of what had happened
and
anymore.
be in that safe, supported space.
Exactly.
Just exclusively for men.
Yeah, what's important for them is to really feel through the pain, actually go through it together. It's important to go through that entire stage with men who understand you, because when you get stuck or you hit a bump in the road, you can just pop in this group and say, this is what I'm going through, guys. Any advice? And that's what the magic has been really behind this group.
And so let's talk about some logistics. So it's the unfortunate situation, a couple has decided to divorce, and most of the time it's with people with kids that your clients are, right? So at this point, the kids already know, they've had the conversation with the children, that they are going to separate, and they're on the verge of putting their home up for sale and splitting up the home, or one person's getting ready to leave. What are some key tips that you have for families going through this?
Yeah, the first thing I think we talked about earlier was just keep your common goal, the kids. And if you have that intention of making sure the kids come first, because they didn't ask for this, whatever happened between you and your spouse is between you and your spouse. And what I've found is that a lot of people use children as kind of like either mediators or the middle grounds and communication tools. And so that becomes toxic for the children. And so I think
It is very common though, right? I guess it takes a lot of maturity. And what's a tip around that? I mean, you really aren't communicating with this. I guess we'll look at this from a male point of view. So the man is not communicating with his wife anymore, and the wife is typically the caregiver for the most part. So what are key tips around trying to keep the kids' best interests first, and also simmer down what's going on between the couple while they're still in the house?
Yeah, if they can't do it themselves, they're gonna have to get a mediator in there to kind of communicate between them. But if the communication is still open, compassion, empathy, respect, those are all things that will go a super long way in your communication. When you're able to take yourself out of the situation and not fight over the coffee maker or who's taking out the trash and this and that, when you guys can come to a place and come to a common good, which is the kids, then you're able to navigate those situations a little bit better, because your head is not in it to destroy your family.
Yes.
And
okay,
so
really keeping that. And it does take a little bit of emotional maturity and emotional intelligence.
it does, from
and
a
a
man.
lot of compassion.
Yes, from a man's
From both sides.
From both sides, but from a man's perspective, is just being vulnerable and letting whatever it is that's hurting you out. Because if you're holding on to bitterness, if you're holding on to anger, it shows on your face, in your bones, in your body, to the people around you, and they get affected by that. And if you can have the, I guess, awareness to say, I don't want to breathe that energy to people, then it starts from within, and letting go of those types of lower vibrational emotions. I think from a man's perspective, that will go a long way in neutralizing some of the, I guess, warfare that's going on between the two of you.
So the next step then is, and we were talking earlier, is that you actually recommended for the couple to stay in the same house, especially the male, because it is typically the male that would leave the house first.
Absolutely. When fights arise, natural reaction for a man is to leave the house, go to stay at a hotel, and completely desert his responsibilities to his kids, and he's still technically legally married to his wife. And until that process is over, I honestly recommend they stay in the matrimonial home, because if they don't, it could look bad in a custody hearing or battle or argument or whatever that's going on, because it would look like you abandon your responsibilities. And
so what if the wife wants him to leave? How do you navigate around that?
Yeah, so you can create safe spaces in the home where it's like, this is my area, please respect that, and this is your area, please respect that. So what happens is most guys will either take the couch or they'll take a spare bedroom, but our recommendation to any guy coming into the group is stay in the home, because there's a lot of issues you guys need to work out, and it's gonna be a long time before your divorce is finalized. And if you guys can't work together during this time, then it's highly recommended to get an agreement in place where you will be seeing the kids equally and putting into your responsibility. Because once that stops and you want 50-50 with your children, the judge may not grant it, because you've now
already left the home.
You've ditched your responsibilities.
So to get a formal access agreement, because custody is a different word, and without getting into the legalese of things, so getting a formal access agreement before the husband leaves or the father leaves the home.
And
so we can fast forward then a little bit, and so they've done these two things. They've and the gentleman is ready to leave the home, or what happened? What are you finding in your group?
So
that they just both start anew, or
yeah. So what happens is it's always in a case-by-case basis. It's always unique to the person's situation. And what I'm finding is that because of that, everyone has a different take on it. I can tell you a little bit about some of the stories that I hear, and people are some men stay in the home, whereas the wife and children move out to another home, even sometimes in a new city. Usually that's the battle. Sometimes the wife is getting a new job somewhere and the man can't leave, and so there's always these disruptions with that. And so yeah, there's situations where the man would stay in the home. He would pay his equity off, so to say, to the wife, half of it or whatever they agreed upon, because sometimes it's not always half. Sometimes it's whatever they agreed upon, because of whatever issues that they might have to resolve. And so yeah, there's that issue. Sometimes they just completely sell the home and they don't want any part of it, and they find two new individual homes, and that matrimonial home gets sold, dissolved or what have you. And so yeah, it's always situational.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Robin. We covered a lot. If you have any questions at all, or if you know somebody going through this situation and would like the support, then definitely contact myself or Robin directly. His information is right here in the video, and hopefully everything will transition smoothly and in the best interests of the family, mostly important. So thank you so much, Robin, for being here.
Thank you.